So what are you doing here today?
Don't know.
What do you mean? You got invited along to a podcast. You must know what you're doing here.
Speaking.
So what did I tell you? What
I wanted to talk about the journey of entrepreneurship, how we got where we were.
No, forget all that. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Jamie. Where'd you start out? I mean, because I know we've spoken many times, right?
Yeah.
But so what's the background to Jamie? I know there's a lot of things that we've discussed, but feel free to share the bits you want to share.
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot that we can't discuss on camera.
Yeah, go on,
to be fair, relatively simple upbringing, right? Nice, good family, military family. My dad was a submariner. Funny enough, was a hydrographer.
Hydrographer? What's that?
Basically what we do in the subsea industry now, subsea survey, hydrography. I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
He got medically discharged because they fired a torpedo and they hadn't shot the chute, shot him back and shattered his knees. But weirdly enough, I don't know if you believe in like all like fate and stuff like that, but he actually set up a recruitment company to get like veterans back into work.
I like that though.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of done full circle, really. Like he died a long time ago, but we moved to Portsmouth. So I was born in Cheshire. Loved it. Moved to Portsmouth. I'm going to fast forward because no one wants to hear about the childhood, but moved to Fareham, which is but spent most of the time in Portsmouth, and when I was about 11, and obviously new school, halfway through term, that's always interesting, isn't it? You know, croaky bloke from Stoke, they used to call me.
So when did you move down? When you
was 11 years old, yeah. Okay. So I had a northern accent. I sounded like I was from Manchester. Well, I was Stoke-on-Trent, I sounded like from. And obviously now I sound like a plastic cockney. Did that. School, lovable rogue, I think would be the best term. Polite, cheeky as fuck. Like that's just me. You know that. You've seen it first hand as off exchange 25 years later. But I was always that person that I was just like looking like, what am I doing here? I just wanted to be out doing stuff.
Didn't know where you fitted in.
Even now, I still don't feel like I fit in, but I've just accepted it and I don't care.
Yeah, but the reality is you do fit in, right? But
probably it's perception.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, but at school I didn't. I was like half in with the cool kids, half not, because I didn't really agree with some of the things they did. Like a one-man wolf pack, to me too. But I just always felt like, I don't know. I just wanted to do something, and sitting in a classroom, and I'm going to struggle to sit still here for an hour, but sitting in a classroom was just like, So I'd go fishing. Our secondary school was right next to some horses fields, and on the other side of the horses fields was a river. I was down there fishing in the summer. Like, I'm sitting in school.
When you're supposed to be at school.
Yeah. Right. But I've always had a bit of entrepreneurial flair, I think. I don't know if this will make the cut, but I used to steal my mum's cigarettes and sell them for like £1. But I'd go fishing.
That's called stealing.
Yeah, well, borrowing my mother's. I was generating wealth for my mother. But I think what was interesting was one point, and still to this day, I don't know where it came from. I was mischievous. I was a class clown. Yeah. And I guess there was an element of trying to fit in, but also just a lot of energy. And I remember one of my teachers, who was an English teacher, she said, are you planning on disrupting the class all for the entire hour? And I just cheekily went, not sure yet, miss, why? And she goes, I'm just wondering, do you think you're too good to be in this school or in this classroom? And I went, it's not that. I said, I just don't see what you're teaching me that I can take out there. And I won't say her name, but she was one of the teachers that actually invested a lot of time in me. She knew I was cheeky, but she knew I had a good, my moral compass was sound. And I could see her look at me as if to go, how is a 13, 14-year-old, like I might be, 14-year-old made that comment. And I have no idea. Like my mum doesn't work. Like, you know, we don't really come from money when my mum and parents broke up. So she's disabled. So, and I still to this day don't know where it came from, but I was just like, I'm in these classrooms. I don't see how to transition it. So I think that was the deciding factor for me where I was like, I'm not coming back here. Right. So I remember my stepdad, or my mum's partner at the time, my classroom was my stepdad, turned around and said, well, don't think you're sitting at home all day doing your mother's head in. Yeah. You're coming to work. So I was like 14, 15 years old. It's probably not legal to say, but just went to work on the like groundwork in building. He had his own private building company. So I was just labouring, lifting, shoveling.
So he was doing child labour for me.
Yeah, possibly. I was getting paid for it. So I was getting good
child labour,
I was getting good money. It's on like 30, 40 pound a day, like at 15, 16 years old. That was good money.
Yeah, it is good money, yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing that stuck by me was my mum, I remember my mum took £50 a week rent off me. So she got me in that mindset of like, right, I've got to
pay your way.
Yeah. She wasn't like that with my younger brother of mine, but
yeah.
So, and I resented her for it a little bit. So I was like, what are you taking my money off me for?
Yeah.
And then I jumped about from job to job, and I just never really found, I knew I've been quite lucky that I wouldn't say I'm naturally gifted or talented in any way, but like I've just got a ridiculous, it's going to sound really cheesy on every like podcast or conversation, but just this work ethic. They go like, if I'm not good at something or I can't do something, I have this ridiculous self-belief. If someone says, can you do that? I'll be like, no, but I will.
Is that where the sports come from then?
Probably, yeah. Because I played quite high level football when I was younger. Like played for like 3 football teams in Cheshire. Was at the Crewe Alexandra School of Excellence for an academy there. Through the school actually, and I was only 11, right? So most kids can play football at 11, right? I don't still don't, but I did cricket, rugby, football, boxing, and then anyway, so we moved to Portsmouth. We're there. Fast forward a few years, and left school, working, and then I started playing golf. Picked up golf very, very late. And at this time I was working for a company called Hydra. I'd done a full circle actually. I'll probably just circle back, right? To, I think how I've got where I've got today is relationship building and communication, right? I remember I got to about 18, 19, 20. Then I could go on a building site properly, have all the necessary certification. And I remember being on this building site, and I actually said this to Jordan the other day when I was having a conversation with him. And I was like the old man's boy. Yeah, but I never got any special treatment. I got it worse. And we were on Royal Ascot, yeah? And you know the parade ring at Royal Ascot, the race course? Yeah. We were laying all the edgings there. And this guy used to give it to me every day to the point where I'd be nearly in tears. Didn't know how to lay an edging, like shaking. Dogging me. But just banter, right? I'm like 18, 19 years old. And I didn't realize he was trying to test me. And I won't say what happened in detail because it's a bit out there, but he gave it to me one point. I looked over and he went, don't fucking look at him. He ain't going to do it to my old man. My old man just walked off. Like, he's going to have to learn. And I snapped one day and I said, if you carry on, you're going to end up like so-and-so. And I'll talk to you about it off camera. And everyone went, and he's like a proper Cockney, like 6'5", big, like black lad, like muscle back. And I'm like, I was boxing at the time, but still like I stand a chance. And he was like, and I was like, oh, fuck. I've gone into the changing rooms, like into like breakout area to get like ready for work for the day. So it's like 6:30 in the morning. Well, there's Jamie. I'm going, I'm in for it here. And he's come in. He went, I wonder how long it'd take for you to crack, give it back.
Oh, so he's testing you.
Yeah. And I went shaking, like trying to, because he used to have me like, I'd go into toilets and like, I'd be tearing up. Like I would felt, and he went, but if you ever go there that far again, it's not going to end well for you. Because I made a comment and I went too far. But I didn't know how to banter then. I'm like 18 years old. I'd never been on a building site. Yeah. And then I worked my way up, like, and I was a ganger, like, and, you know, still half handsome-ish. So I was, you know, telling 40, 50-year-old men that have been doing the job 20 years. And I think that's where I learned how to communicate. And then from there, you know, you'd have the layoffs. I was injured with my hands. My hands were always bad. I got into golf and I started playing golf.
But how did you, I mean, golf's quite an expensive sport to be in, right? So here's this humble beginnings that you had growing up. Really. How did you get into it?
Not really. I mean, I used to work for a company called Hydrex. So I was driving a digger. And my 2 friends at the time joined one of my friends had played golf since young, and my other friend who was in the Alex Medway, who was in the Royal Navy, he was like, oh, we've joined this golf course. And because we were young at the time, you get it cheap. It's like, I don't know, £300 for the year, maybe not even, as a membership.
Okay.
So I bought myself some clubs. And I remember hitting some balls at the back of Ben's house with Alex, just on a school field. I love this. And as with anything like me, as you know, I can't have multiple things in my life. I get obsessed with something and it consumes me. So then I started playing, and then I'd be leaving work early to play golf. I'd never be able to play in front of anyone other than my 2 friends because I was nervous.
Okay.
And because I wasn't very good. It was terrible. And then there was a job opening at the golf club for sales and membership manager. I just applied for it and got it. And I'd actually left, saying that, tell a lie, I've skipped a bit. I'd left driving the machine. So I was driving the diggers when I started playing golf. And then I moved to Phones for You. And that's when my sales career began. Okay. Phones for You.
So you went from building sites phones for you. How was that? I mean, how did you get it?
So my girlfriend at the time, she used to work for Phones for You. She was then working for Barclays, and obviously in the building, so you're getting laid off because it was all contract stuff. So she just introduced you to general manager, and again, like anything, it just clicks. As with anything, right? Much the same as my hiring process at Diverse now. Like if I like you and you've got something about you, I'll pass them down to whoever to second interview. But for me, it's like, okay, likable, we can make it work.
Yeah.
Might not be the greatest strategy, but it works. And I got the job. I was only there for 9 months, or just over 9 months, but it was the funnest 9 to 11 months of like,
because it was a sales environment, right?
Do you know what? It was more that it was the people, man. It was the greatest group of people. The fun. You'd have the worst day ever, right? You wouldn't make any sales because we were in the flagship store. But despite what anyone says, if nobody's coming through the door, there is no one to sell to. Right. And yes, you could start making bookings and meetings and trying to get people to come in. And that happened towards the end of my, but so you just have fun. And there's a lot that we could talk about on camera. There's probably a lot we can't not talk about on camera, but it was just a great environment. And I got promoted from sales consultant to sales floor manager or whatever it was called. I was terrible. Power trip. Like, then I didn't know, right? You're not really given any training in that environment. But I was all right, but just there were people that probably needed more mentoring, and I only knew Iron Fist. And I just that was my first management job, and it wasn't really a management job. It was just a title with a pay rise. But then a job came up, membership sales manager at the golf club. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to apply for it. I was 2 minutes from my house, where I was a member, went in, had an interview, had another in, got it. It's like, wow, how have I just got this? And obviously tattoos and, golf club doesn't really, two don't go. It's always had a shirt on, but, and my job was to literally get new people to join the golf club.
Okay.
And I was good at it.
And you enjoyed the sport anyway, right?
But I got so good at it that we couldn't take any new members on. Our retention was perfect. And what I used to do, Ben Beagley was the general manager, right? And we are two totally different people. He's extremely well-spoken, well scored, and I'm not.
But you can stand your own.
Yeah, I could stand my own. But we would like chalk and cheese with regards to he's very professional and I'm not. But he gave me the job and he taught me a lot. And he taught me how to communicate with the members, and you don't say mate. Remember, and it was actually Sam Plachette, the head pro. Name dropping a lot here, but he said, "Listen, don't call people mate," because I say, "Oh, mate, how are you?" Because that's my personality. But he was like, "Call people by their first names." And when he did that, and I started doing that, I started to get a bit more with the older members, because it was predominantly older. I mean, it was all debenture-based membership, so the average age there must have been like 50.
Okay.
We introduced a younger age, like let's say the 25 to 30-year-olds, the working professionals. And then I used to spend all my time, any excuse to get out in the golf, I'd take members out for a game of golf on the golf course. And in my head, I was doing it because I just wanted to play golf, because I was fucking obsessed with it. And I was terrible. I was off 28.
But now you had the opportunity to play as much as you want, right? Because you had a job there.
But I got good, relatively good, quite quickly.
Okay.
And then I'm taking members out in the court, and they're going, "Why are you taking these members out in the court? Why are you always in the bar talking to people? Why are you always sat down having a coffee with people?" And it's like, because they're the ones that are paying monthly subs, and their renewals are coming up in 6 months or 3 months' time. And I know already that they're going to renew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was doing it. It's only now where, 10, 20 years later, where I look back and go, hang on a minute, now I understand why I was doing it, or I understood the outcome of it better. And I think I was doing it naturally, and the outcome was benefiting the business and benefiting me, but without me actually understanding it. It was just a natural intuition. Right, let's just go and have a coffee with them. How are you getting on? Especially because I've joined golf clubs, right? I was a member at Wentworth when I worked there. No, when I left there, so I got into recruitment. I joined Wentworth, and one of the things for me was integration. I stayed there for 6 months, and the surgeon said, "You're gonna have to stop playing golf." That's another story, but you didn't know anyone there. So if
you have to do, are you saying we're going to have to do a follow-up because there's another story?
Yeah, I've got stories for days. I'm trying to get through this quick.
Yeah, that's all right.
Long story short, I was there for 2.5 years, and when I snapped my tendon, because I was still boxing at the time, I snapped my tendon off my hand. Had to have it reattached, and the surgeon said, listen, I was 24, I think. They said, if you carry on, I might have been younger, actually, I can't remember. If you carry on doing what you're doing, we're going to have to fuse your wrist by the time you're 30. So that was the end of me, because I had this aspiration to do my PGA and turn pro. And because with the PGA professional, you have a degree. Obviously, I left school early, no degree, no college. Like, you know, I went to college for 11 weeks, but that's another story. And then, but in doing all of this, there were 2 people that kept leaving their business card for me. And it was a guy called David Wilson and Richard Crawley.
Okay.
Richard Crawley was the CEO of STR Recruitment. David Wilson was the managing director. And I'd called these 2, fucking hell, come and join the golf club, and they joined. and they joined the golf club, right? And they said, have you ever thought
about... guy can sell.
Yeah, they said, have you ever thought about a career in recruitment? I've gone, well, can I hit balls? Like, I'm out there chipping every day. Like, because what I used to do, probably I'll get, sorry guys at CAMS, but I used to divert the phones on my mobile, put my AirPods in, my headphones at the time, and I'd be stood on the chipping green chipping. So if a call came through, hello, I'd just be practicing. And I said, I'm outside hitting balls every day. I can't sit in an office,
make calls.
But then when the surgeon said that, I was like, I can't work in the golf industry because I love it and it kills me. So, and I actually cried when I left that job. It was the only job I ever cried because I loved it. It was just brilliant. There wasn't a lot of money in it. I was quite good to the point where Robert Climas, he was quite a good mentor to me. I used to like self-deprecate all the time, which you've seen still now.
Yeah.
And we did, there's a guy called, I think it's Jamie Edwards. He wrote a book called Mental Ketchup. He's like a performance coach, and they brought everyone into CAMS, which is the golf club, to do this training course, all the membership sales managers. Because I was doing so well. I mean, I implemented a whole sponsorship thing to generate a whole sponsorship opportunity for local businesses to generate more money. I say we, but I kind of spearheaded it. And this Jamie was coming, he said, what you motivate me? I was like, money. No, you know, he said, Jamie, it doesn't matter how much money you earn, you're never going to, it's never going to be enough for you.
Yeah.
You've got to find something else. And that's always stuck with me. But I'll fast forward a bit. And I remember self-deprecating or something, and my mum was ill at the time as well. And I remember Rob Climas took me to one side and said, listen, you need to stop doing that. You're not thick. You're not clever. Like, I don't know why you're beating yourself up. Like, I'm sending some of our sales guys to sit with you to ask you how you do it. He said, and I never took kind of note of that. And I still to this day don't know how I do what I do. I just do it.
But that's the DNA, I guess, whatever, the upbringing is, the fact that you can dedicate yourself, and focus as much as it is confusing for you, and honestly, I mean, but you get there.
Get the job done.
And when you get there, there's a lot of clarity.
The clarity comes after.
Yeah.
So I've always been of the opinion, right? You, and we'll probably touch on this a little bit later, is like, point me in a direction. I'll go, ask me how I'm going to get it or get it done. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
Ask me how I did it. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's done. And then after a period of time, I go, all the puzzles, it might be the ADHD. So anyway, so I joined the recruitment company, but before I did that, went to Ibiza for a while, had a good time, came back. And they basically said, so actually, no, I need to jump back. So when I had the issue with the tendon, I thought, I can't work here, I need a job. So I called David Wilson, I was like, need a job. He went, right, come and see so-and-so. So he called me one day, right? And I remember I was on the golf course. He said, can you come in and see so-and-so? I was in my golf stuff. He went, just come in for a cup of tea, it's fine. So I went to see the HR lady and she was really nice. I said, listen, I'm sorry about the attire. Like, I'm still smart, but not business attire. I didn't even think I owned a suit. And she put me in touch with a guy, and I won't say his name, but I interviewed him. I remember him being a bit frosty. I said, you come to every interview like this? And I was like, I wasn't told it was an interview. I was a cup of tea, like, sure, I would have been. So I come back, I want you to do a bit of research on our business and then come back for an interview. I was like, no problem. So I went away, did some research, I wouldn't say I'm academic, right? I think that's very clear, but I'm intelligent. And I did the research and Went back in. He's like, I could make you work, but you come across like a fly by your seat of your pants kind of guy. I'd never even heard that saying before. And I just went, he said, but I've got someone else who I think you might be able to work for.
All right.
And funnily enough, I interviewed with Navis Consulting, who was headed up by Jenna Coles. And
okay,
we were actually in the same year at school, same school together. We kind of remembered each other, but it was a bit. And basically, long story short, was I'd interviewed and had an opportunity, right, to either be a resourcer, and I know there's this argument, you should always start as a resourcer, or go straight into a contract desk.
Right.
So there's a guy called Ross who needed a resourcer. Couldn't see myself working under him, would have just clashed, right? It was just the dynamic didn't work. And then there was Steve Dicker who was running the RV desk, and they said, we think there's a survey desk. And what I didn't realize is this guy that told me, because SGR had nine different brands. So there was a professional, there was Navis Consulting, which was the marine engineering, subsea. And I think he basically put me into her because they were competitors in the business. So their brands against each other. So I think he put me in there to like half sabotage her. So I started in July, did a couple of deals.
What year was this?
This would have been, this would have been 2010, 2011, something. I'd have to look on LinkedIn. Could be wrong, give or take a year. And it would have been about 2011, 2012 time, I think. And so I started in July, learnt the market, just ringing candidates, understanding the survey market to the best of my ability. And I think one thing recruiters fail to, or don't, maybe not value, is candidates are your source of information because they love talking about their job. Much like I like talking about myself and diverse. You can get a lot of information. And I had a relatively good mentor. Steve was a good deal maker and a great relationship builder. And I learned a lot from him. And then, as with anything, I'm like, I don't think I'm better, but I know I can build more. Right? I'm competitive. You know that, right? So then come to the following year, and I had a great January, a not so great February, and even worse March. So ended up doing like 190K in my first year. Second year was better. Third year was better. And I don't like talking about billings. I think it's a bit vulgar.
So, how did you adapt from being this sort of sports outside, in the open worker rather than going out into an office, being confined, suits, ties and everything else.
I love the suit. I love the suit. I was, again, you know what I'm like, right? I like my clothes. So I was straight suits, made, leather, Italian leather shoes, red socks, red tie. I look like I look like Trump or a second-hand car salesman. I didn't actually struggle with it as much as what I thought.
Okay.
Because I think, bang, mindset just went, right, what are we on? And I remember saying to everyone, you're not going to outbuild me. And in Navis, I was never outbuilt. From the year I started till I left.
Okay.
Right? But what I found through there, and it was a great learning curve, but I personally felt, and I didn't, until it was only what I know now where I identified how my mindset works, was I didn't feel I was better than anyone. I just felt like there was more for me to do. And I felt like I'd hit my peak in Navis. And this would have been 2014. I started to go, I don't see the progression here. And I always have to be moving forward. I can't do a year stale because I feel like I've gone backwards. And obviously when you're in the recruitment industry and you're in a niche industry and you're good and you're billing big numbers, everybody kind of knows you for either good or bad, right? You either, he's good because he's nicking our contractors or whatever. So you get headhunted a lot by rec to recs, right? We all see it. And I just got to a point where I was like, I want to do something different. And I got, again, I'm extremely impulsive, as you know, quite emotional. Someone called me and said, right, we want to set an office up in Dubai. Do you fancy it? I didn't even know what Dubai was. So, yeah. So I felt like a small fish in a medium-sized pond. Or an even smaller pond.
That's in Dubai or
in Navis. Because I felt like I'd achieved everything that I wanted to achieve. And there wasn't really the next step up to management because it just wasn't really there. And there's a few things that I didn't really agree with. And I'm sure I wasn't, one of them ones. It was like internal politics, I guess. It happens.
You do. I mean, you face that all the time, right?
And I think, listen, I can be quite an arrogant little prick at times, but not rude with it. Just like, I know my worth. I know what I'm doing. And I think nothing about going and sitting in Dave Wilson's office, just having a chat with him. And I probably need to give Dave Wilson more credit, actually, because he's the one person, much like yourself, that knows how to push my buttons without pushing my buttons. Knows how to get the best out of me. And I go in there and he go, what are you going to build this month? I'm like, what do you want? And he just chucked a number. I go, all right, let's say it was 30 grand or 40 grand or whatever. And I go, done 44. And he went, 45 would be better. And that's all he'd say. He'd be like, 45 would be better. And I'd be like, okay.
So do you see yourself, right? Because you used a phrase there. I don't think I'm better than anyone else, right? But do you feel you're the best at what you do?
What?
Because from the time I've known you, I agree with you. You don't have this arrogance about you that I'm better than anyone else. But you have this, like, I am the best. And I'm going to make this happen, right?
So my mum says like, she doesn't know where I get it from. And I think a lot of it's false confidence. I just tell myself I can do it and I'm just going to do it. And then I will just not stop until I do it. But I remember one day Dave Wilson had me in his office and he went, do you reckon you'll ever be able to walk past my office like coming in? I'm like, I knew I'm one of your biggest billers. So I've got carte blanche.
Yeah,
I've got carte blanche to a degree. And I think that's why there was the internal politics in the business, right? So he went, what percentage do you work at a day? Now, bearing in mind, I'm in the office, you know me, I'm in the office at 6 a.m. So there I was in the office at 7 o'clock, but I was out the door at 5:30. People weren't getting into 8:30. I've done a day's worth of work before they even get in there. And I guess just come back to that. We had to do an hour, 100 minutes a day on the phone. My average call time was 11. Quality over quantity, right?
Okay.
I value my client's time as much as I value mine. Right? Have you got anything? No, perfect. Bang, next, bang, back. Just it's a numbers game, right? And as long as you can have that high level numbers game, but add value to your clients and still build a good relationship. They're busy. They don't want me on the phone asking how their weekend was. They've got a million and one other things to do until you've gone through the delivery phase and you've built that relationship. Yeah. So, and Dave said to come back, Dave Wilson went, what percentage you work? And I'm like, oh, 80%. He just went, didn't say, he's a strong scientist, doesn't say a word. I'm like, 70, just like you're looking at me now. 50, 40. I got down, I went, 20? And he went, I'd say so. He said, look at what you're doing at 20%. Imagine you did 25.
Yeah.
That's his motivation. That's it. That's what he said. And I'm like,
just marginal gains, right? I mean, we don't need to go from 20 to 100.
No, but he just
go 20 to 21, 22.
He knew, he knew, and he knew exactly how to trigger me. It's almost like he knew how I worked. He knew the DNA of me without me knowing it. It's like you saying, forget the noise, focus on that. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it clicks. You're not telling me what to do.
Yeah.
You're just giving me that friendly advice because you know I'm intelligent enough to figure it out for myself. And if you tell me, I'm going to revolt.
Yeah. And you're going to expect that to be happening all the time rather than just doing it for yourself.
So anyway, so then fast forward, moved to Dubai, and I won't touch too much on Dubai, but Dubai was the first place that I felt I belonged.
Okay.
Right. So I moved out for a company. They had big goals and aspirations, but reality being after 5 months, I don't think they quite understood what was required and capital out there. And, you know, I'd been here 5 months, but only good money in the UK, even after tax. And they went, I don't think we can afford to carry an avenue in. I'm like, right. Then I moved to another company through Rec to Rec. Yeah. Who's no longer with us, actually, sadly, sad to say. He used to work for Live. Without him, I probably wouldn't still be here. But he passed away last year, a chap called Andrew.
Okay.
He was like, no, I reckon I can get you. So he put me in a company called Skilled International. And talk about a whirlwind start to Dubai. I've been here 5 months. I'm now going, fuck. I'm like, you know, I had a girlfriend at the time, was moved out, like, and she's like, I've just left everything, you know, and we're no longer together, like, but she's like, I've just left everything to come in. Now you leave, you know, moving to a different job, and not very supportive, but whatever. Like, I think it was more shock for her, right? So, and I went into programs. There's a chap called Ross Ellingham. He was a general manager, and Carl Winterbottom. He was XS3, progressive.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 super sound lads.
Yeah.
Really, Ross was ex-Spencer Ogden, I think. Really cool people. And what happened was because the market had tanked in 2015, the oil and gas market, I mean, it went negative.
Yeah.
Ross being the general manager that he is, went, right, we need to generate revenue. So they diversified into, shameless plug for diverse resourcing, but they diversified into healthcare, different.
Just pivoting to see what the new markets are.
But Skilled International was an Australian, was part of Programmed Marine, or Programmed International, which was a $4.5 billion company listed on the ASX in Australia.
Yeah.
So you can't really do that, right? So I'd been there not long, and there was like 20 odd people in the office, and there was only 2 people. So it was Ashley Anderson and Glenda who were doing like the drilling marine side of things, the rest of them. And I was trying to do bits of oil and gas with them. And one day I've walked in, it was like weird atmosphere in the office. And I remember saying to Carl, like, what's going on here? Like, it's a bit weird. My job's safe. And he went, yours is. What? Next thing I know, and the way it was set up, I don't think they have directors in this business, but they have like managers. Strange. HR lady came in, I can't remember, Ali, she came in with 2 guys from Australia, and they basically just went brutal. No easy way to say this, but we've diluted our brand. We're a marine drilling, blah, 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 blah. Everybody's been made redundant by you 3. Talk about feeling awkward. Everyone's just turned around and looked at me, Ashley and Glenda.
Okay.
Yeah. And they took me in a meeting room and said, listen, we've seen your CV. You've got what we need. You fancy doing the BDM role? I was like, fucking yeah, like, I'm going to be out of a job otherwise. Stayed with them for a bit. And again, public company, shareholders, a lot of red tape. Didn't really understand what we did as a business, subsea. And it was it's quite difficult to do business then. We ended up losing some business to one of our biggest competitors, right? Because they didn't understand the model, right? So they were trying to get us. So I'm outspoken. If it's right or it's wrong, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If it's right for the business, I'm going to say. Whether what you choose to do with that information is on you. You're the boss, but I'm going to tell you. Because if I don't, and we lose business or deals because of it, you're going to go, why didn't you do that?
Yeah. Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. So I just felt like I was always that person causing an issue. But I'm like, you asking us to put guys on a certain business model that they don't need to be on, and we're losing business. So we lost a few guys to one of our competitors. Long story short, they ended up selling the business to our competitor.
Oh, okay.
So that for me, I was just like, bit of a kick in the teeth, the irony. So I'm done. David Wilson calls me. He'd left, moved to one of SGR's competitors. He was MD there, or COO, I think. I can't remember. And he said to me, do you want to do something interesting? I went, yeah. David Wilson was the sort of person, if he said jump off that bridge, I'd go, why? On the way down. Like, yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, why am I doing this? Like, and I was just like, yeah. I said, as long as you match my contract, match my salary, I'm done. So he wanted to set up a Middle East on ops. Started doing that, worked very, very hard, build a bit, did some good project, and we landed a big project. But project didn't come off because the payment terms shifted, and it got to the point, and this is where we probably get to the start of the entrepreneurial journey, is spent 9 months worth of work doing that. I don't have autonomy or control to say, yes, it's your money, right? And I understand, and I wouldn't make that decision out of that, it's my business, but I'd already spent the commission. So he's like, it's not really working, is it? And I went, nah. So then I had to find a way. So then I went to, well, hang on a minute. I built big numbers before. I can do it. Surely I can do it for myself. So that's when I started exploring it and basically trying to tap my business model into some already active companies. But
whilst you were working with
no, that was it.
In between.
It was that we're done here. What's next?
Yeah.
And I was like, fight or flight mode. It's either, survive or, don't. And Dubai, as you know, is not the place you can be where you're not.
Yeah.
So tried a few business partners, tried to get it work, but again, they weren't right for me. They weren't right for the business. They didn't understand our subsea oil and gas industry. It scares a lot of people. And also a lot of the companies I was speaking to, trying to apply a European or Westernized mentality to the Middle East. That business model doesn't work. We've seen it firsthand.
Everyone was starting out.
We've seen it firsthand. If you can't adapt, you're just not going to work here. And then, so it was a bit of an interesting journey. And then I guess we get to the diverse bit.
Yeah. I mean, before we go on to that, so you've taken that leap of faith, right? A lot
it's just earlier.
A lot earlier than a lot of people typically would to move to somewhere like Dubai.
I always feel I'm a late starter.
But so you moved to Dubai when?
2015, August the 30th.
All right. So you're probably second gen of those recruiters that headed this way.
I missed all the big paychecks. Yeah, bastards.
You did all right.
Not struggling. I'm not struggling.
When you speak to others now, from what you know, right? Because you've had this sort of upbringing of various different things, right? It's never been like a one track or a typical journey, where school, college, university,
up, down, left, right.
First job, you go spend 4 or 5 years there, and then you've had a lot of experience there. So when you came to Dubai, you probably didn't think through it much. You just did it, right?
I'd moved into a new apartment, right? So funny enough, just on that, I'd moved into a new apartment. I've been there 3 months. Said to my girlfriend at the time, this was on a Saturday. I was like, listen, I've been offered a couple of jobs, or I'm thinking, she goes, let's talk about it when you come down next weekend. By Tuesday, I resign, I'm going. Like impulse. So with me, drastic life-changing decisions I'll do without even thinking. Try and decide what I want to watch and want to have for dinner. I'd still be sat there now. But yeah, I've always felt like I started a bit late, but I feel like I've made up.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
So what's the advice? I mean,
just do it.
And in doing a move like Dubai,
do it. What's the worst going to happen? What is the worst? I came out with £6,000. £6,000. That was it. Now, I've had good people around, I had good bosses that have helped and like supported, if you need it. But I came out with $6,000. I wouldn't advise anyone to come out with $6,000.
But you're backing yourself, right? So that's probably the number one thing.
I think I've always backed myself, because if you don't back yourself, you've got, you're only in control of yourself. I'm only in control of my actions, my thoughts, my mouth. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes it makes me profitable. Hopefully the latter more than the prior. But I think I wish I'd done it sooner. I wish I'd moved sooner or done something, but everything happens for a reason, I guess.
So you came out in 2015. You've obviously never gone back.
Once or twice.
Trips back and forward, but you never decided to say, look, I'm going to pack up bags and that's it.
Just on that, sorry, I skipped a bit. So Clive from SDR, so 3. So it was Clive, David and Richard from SDR. When it went to shit with the first company moved out of, I called him. I was like, mate, I've taken a loan out to pay for my apartment for the year. Because in my head, I'm like, get your base sound. So I went to the bank, got a loan, paid for my apartment for the year. Right? He went, Jamie, if you want to come back, we'll just clear your loan. That'll be our it was like 20 grand English. They went, that's our recruitment fee to bring you back. If you want to come back, there's a home here for you. And I was like, I can't go back. Can't face that failure. It's like, nah.
Yeah, it's probably a good move.
Yeah, fucking hell, 100%. Look at me now, flying. I'm joking.
Yeah, you say that. The journey you've just been on is like, it's a tough journey. So talk me about diverse and the entrepreneurial part of the journey. Yeah.
I'd been kind of semi-burnt by some business partners. I won't talk about it on here, but expensive. I don't call it burnt. It's expensive lesson.
Yeah.
Expensive training course. Right. And my best friend, Fraser Young, was a project engineer, right? And I placed him with one of my clients.
Okay.
Right. And Fraser, you've met him. And he won't thank me for placing him there. But I still say to this day that it set him on the track for his career growth.
Yeah.
But I placed him, we became friends, like thick as thieves. We weren't stealing, but we just got the same mindset, just idiots. And we just have good fun. He'd set Diverse up and I needed a brand. And he was like, I'm joining this company. I can't be attached to it as a conflict of interest, but do you want to take the brand on? I took the brand. He said, but what I will do is I'll help you with some consulting, help get the brand off the ground, right?
Yeah.
And the good thing about Diverse was there were so many recruitment companies, out there. Some great ones, some not so great ones, some startups, some cowboys, some charlatans, as with every industry. One of the things for us was how many out there have actually got industry experience, right? So not many people have been offshore. There's a few I can name. So we set Diverse resourcing up. Fast forward, we did a year and a bit of trading, realized that being a biller, having an organization behind you is not the same as being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's a lot of costs involved, a lot of outlay, even like cash flow for,
running contractors.
I didn't know anything about
taxation.
That. I just sent the timesheet. I didn't even send the time. I closed the deal, done, give me my commission. And long and short of it, I don't know how this happens. I just went to my market again, and a guy called Charles Dorr, who used to be CXC, who used to be one of my contractors for me, said, listen, I need funding. And he put me onto Eves at Worker. I think it was Worker. And then I get a phone call. Hi, is that Jamie? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, it's Emily. I'm like, who? So it's Emily Delacure. It's on behalf of James Caan. I went, who?
Yeah.
James Caan Dragons Den. I was like, who?
You didn't know who James was at that time?
I knew, but it was in the morning. I had my AirPods in. I was putting washing out on the line.
Yeah.
She goes, I've got, I didn't realize that Eves had messaged me saying, you're going to get a call from these guys. Pick it up. They're perfect for you. Recruitment entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So she said, I've got the CEO and CFO on the phone. So it was Arbid and Angus.
Yeah.
You happy to have a chat with them? I was like, we've got your deck, your investor deck. I was like, oh, now it makes sense. Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I didn't click who James Caan was until she said James Caan Dragons Den. I'm like, so I've gone from watching this guy on the telly to now his PA or his executive.
As we all have, yeah.
Yeah, is he calling me? So she said, I want to schedule a call with Arbid. Like, okay, perfect. Arbid, as you know, gentrified.
Yeah.
You know.
Mr. Slick.
Oh, smooth. I'm like plastic. I've got the comment. He's going to fucking hate me. Spoke to him and he didn't hate me. He might still hate me. Arbid, do you hate me? I don't know. But he was just like.
Tell him to return your calls.
Yeah, turn on the calls. Turn your phone off. But like, he's just well-spoken, a proper British gent.
Yeah.
But just someone like, yeah, I need to be around this guy.
Yeah. Straight
away, you know that you're going to grow with him. When we went through the process, which took a long time.
So that's the entrepreneur. That's when you sort of switch to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place where we can like pause, right? Because I think that next part of the journey,
there's another hour's worth of talk.
Yeah. I mean that's probably the real interesting, part of that entrepreneurial piece, which we should cover off. But the one thing I've noticed about working with you, right, and this was the focus you put and the fact that you don't come from this methodical academic way of looking at things, but just street smart approach to understanding it. Yeah. And hey, you pick it up, right? You pick it up and you question it and you question the obvious things in there. But the thing that you have taken away, you know, I've seen this in leaps and bounds recently, right? That you have understood the point of like filtering out the noise.
Yeah.
Because you've only got so many hours in a day and every day is now growth and next steps.
Yeah.
You've got to focus on that and not the noise, right?
Stay tuned for part 2.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I'd like to focus on that next conversation because I think that's going to be an interesting part 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Of this part of it. But yeah, no, it's been great, man. Listen, we've got built a great relationship over the last couple of years, you know.
I think, certainly that for me is if you what you can take out of anything, right, is who's around you during the rough times, right? Who's not got their cap in their hand? Who's the ones just giving you that advice? And I've had a lot. I've been very, very lucky. I've had a lot of good mentors, and I take bits from them and just like sew it on like a badge, you know, like your scouts. So I'll just go, right, Dave Wilson, like I'll pay.
I used to be a scout.
I was a beaver.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, in the good times, everyone can behave in a great way and everyone's having fun. Yeah. It's the tough times, right, where you really understand the character and the resilience
and what you're made of,
and what you're,
and I'm fucking relentless, like
relentless.
I won't stop.
Done. We'll follow this conversation on, mate.